Um, I know that last week, obviously, you guys were so ecstatic that Steve was here, you just decided not to come back, and so it's, we are still in this series called Under God, and really, guys, what I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I was going to, and it's kind of hard, because 2 weeks ago, we elected our 45th president of the United States, and as recently as yesterday, we're still so separated. There's still such a divide. There's still so much that's going on. We're still going in this huge direction. And, the thing is, it's kind of getting sickening. It really is getting to this point where we have people that are fighting and we have no idea what's going to go on in which direction. And we have, and there's people that are ecstatic about it, and there's cheering, and it's really, really sad kind of where the state of our country has gone under this. And really kind of fit, the reason why we did this series is because we knew it was going to fit along with the election. We knew that all of this was going to kind of tie together, and we were really going to have this opportunity to really speak about where our country was going and us becoming divided. Because you could see all the way that our country was divided. You can see that look at just where we're at right now. And, and I want to go back, and I just want to start a little bit, and maybe you guys remember something, is that the Pledge of Allegiance. What's the Pledge of Allegiance? It's just, and you start looking at it, and we've talked about this a little bit, and it's one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice forever. That's the last line, right? And so we start looking at that. Indivisible. If we start looking at this, do we look as a country that's indivisible? If you're looking at this from the outside, if you happen to be in France, or you happen to be one of these places, do you see that our country is, you look at it and go, man, they are united. They are the United States. They are, it's just amazing on how much unity is happening there. And it's kind of one of those things that it's not something that you would use to remotely describe what our country looks like at all. You wouldn't go, man, they're just going in the right direction. And if you look at our country, and if you really start looking at the history of our nation, you look at it for like the last 40 years, and if we just kind of go the last 40 years, it's really, really gotten divided. It's really gotten separated, and we've really gotten to this point where, these two different agendas, well, the liberal agenda and the conservative agenda, have really separated, and they've caused this massive divide in our country. See, the thing, we can have this whole political discussion. The reality is that we've allowed it as Christians. And we've created it in just our walks of Christianity. Because we have these walks, when you start looking at it, we have these divides right here, right in our own cities. When you look at these different churches, you have churches that are battling one another. Literally it's competition. It's not a competition. So that's the thing, is that church is not a competition. The thing is that we're all called to reach people for Christ. And we've gotten so confused that we've lost this, and we've created this separation, and it's really translated into the rest of our lives. It's gone in so many different directions, and it's really changed some of these things. As believers, we're supposed to have this deep and central value for Jesus. That's what we're supposed to have. This deep, this core belief that we are pursuing Jesus no matter what, at all costs, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. And a lot of times, we're just not. If you open up to John, and if you're following along, we're going to put it on the wall. We'll put them up here on the wall as well. And if you're following along at home, we'll have it on the screen briefly. I pray also for those who believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. And if you go into verse 23, and it says, so they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. And so if you look at this, it's kind of broken up a little bit. And so it's John 17, verses 20 through 21, and then 23. And it says, so that they may be brought to complete unity, and that the world will know that you sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me. And so I want you to look at this, and I want you to think about this, is that our divide has caused it to where people see us as a divided country. But they also see us as are we divided as followers as well? And we are divided as followers. We're kind of lost right now. And as you start looking at things, and it's sad that more Christians are divided than united right now. It's a sad situation. And I'll just give you an example, is that I know that there's people out there that criticize us as a church. I just know that. It's just kind of what we started as, who we started as a church. The thing is it doesn't really bother me. The thing that bothers me is how many of them do it, right? I kind of look at it and go, because if there's not enough of them, that kind of bothers me. I got to do some more controversial things. But really the thing is that I know that there's churches out there that criticize. And in the past, and if you've been here, I've been very judgmental and I've criticized other churches as well. But I'll tell you is that what I've really gotten to this point of is being a part of this message of unity and helping other churches grow and helping people and really just going, I know that our church will grow when all of our churches are growing, when our whole neighborhood and when our whole community is growing, that our church, it's not just about filling seats at the edge, it's about filling seats in God's kingdom. And see, that's the mindset we have. And granted, it hasn't always been that way, but that's just how God has been speaking life and growing me and telling me, hey, this is what we have to do. And so I've just become an advocate of going, how can I help? What can I do to help other churches? What can I do with whatever? And I don't care. But there's people out there that criticize. They go, he's young. And I obviously don't believe in, and I don't go in the direction where I feel like I preach a feel-good message, but people think that I do. And they go, oh, everything that comes out of his mouth is about feeling good. You can use your phone during service there. You know how many times I've heard that? There's people on Facebook in church right now. Yeah, they are in your church too. Believe me, because they're checking our service out right now. I watched the music they play. Do you know they baptize in a pool? Do you know, I've heard that because we do a pool in here usually when we'll do baptisms, we do a big pool. How much water are you wasting? I don't know. How many lives did we just help bring into the kingdom? Didn't matter. Right? What is it that we always have these different things? Oh, they have hats in church. The pastor has tattoos. Oh, so what? We can do the same thing about them. Their service is too long. Their service is too shallow. Or maybe it's too deep. Maybe it's just, oh, they lost me. I don't know. Or it's too funny. Or maybe it's too dry. I don't know. And it's kind of, we can pick apart services. We can just do that all the way. They go, oh, they walk in here. They go, they meet in a warehouse. There's no stained glass. Oh, they spent too much money on stained glass. It's all those things that you start looking at. They're not missional. Oh, they're too missional. You see how we get divided? We're laughing because this is what's actually happening out there. This is what you walk into a church and the first thing you go, I can hang out here for an hour. Right into judgment. You didn't even get a chance to walk into the seat, sit down, and hear the word of God being spoken. Oh, the guy might be great, but you judged it based upon what the lobby looked like. Or maybe what the parking lot looked like. Or maybe the lack of signage. Or maybe the horrible drive down Horizon Drive. Or maybe the 15 other churches you had to pass to get to this one. Right? I mean, you just start looking at it. We have all these things that come up, and it divides us. See, the thing is, the church down the street is not our enemy. It's not. Their denomination style, whatever, it's just different. Unless they hate God. I mean, they hate God, then they're an enemy. But the reality is, the enemy is the spiritual enemy that's out there, not the church down the street that's trying to bring people in and trying to help people get saved. Our job is to go and help them and reach out. And it's not our job to be like, there's something wrong there. There's nothing wrong. There's something wrong with our mindset when we do that. And see, the problem is that we have that. We have that as a church, as an organization. It's not just the Edge, but churches all across the country have this problem where we have focused on the enemy that's not the spiritual enemy, but the enemy of the church down the street, or what this church is doing, or what that church is doing, or this hypersensitive church down the way. Now, there's weird churches out there. I get it. There's weird churches. There's one that's local, and I'm not going to say many names, but they're in Vacaville on Orchard Drive. You want to really know what they are, go look for them. No, they're weird. But the reality is, most churches out there they're really trying to do the same thing we're doing. And they're trying to save lives, and they're trying to reach people for God. That's what they're trying to do. See, the problem is the enemy is trying to steal our unity. He's trying to kill our churches and just trying to destroy the credibility of the local church. That's what's happening. And it's happening over and over again. And see, what's happened is, as a church, we become divided. And what happens as we divide, we become weak and ineffective. We just become weak and ineffective. We've lost this mission of actually doing what God has called us to do, and we've become weak and ineffective, and we struggle to reach this community. There's 40 churches here in town, or 50 churches, and we're struggling to reach this community. I just want to give you just a population number here. In between Fairfield and Sassoon, there's roughly 160,000 people. 160,000 people. That's just between the two cities. All 50 churches were full today. All throughout services, every service was packed just in Fairfield and Sassoon. We would still only reach about 10,000 people here. Okay, if all of them were packed. So here's the thing. If you look at the numbers, that means that we're only reaching less than 10% of our community. Less than 10% of our community. And we go, oh, we're doing a wonderful job as churches. No, we're too divided. And it's causing us to reach less than 10% of this community. 160,000 people, 80% of them consider themselves Christians. 80% of them consider themselves believers of Christ. We need more churches. We need, just right here in Fairfield, you go, oh, there's too many churches. We need more churches. We need more people sharing the word. And we need to become united and getting together and going, we understand that there's different styles. We understand that there's different ways of presenting the gospel. We understand that there's all these different things because we are missing 150,000 people in service every week in Fairfield and Sassoon. Jesus said it. He said, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. He said the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. There's 160,000 people, and we go, we got to grow our church. What are we going to do? And so the problem has become, as churches, we tend to steal from other churches. Churches people church hop, they bounce from place to place, they go from place to place, and instead of actually growing from people that are lost and don't know God, they grow from people that are actually going to other churches because those are people that give. People that go to other churches, they help support the mission to help us try and reach those that are lost, but we try and end up getting more people that can give to help us reach more people, and we kind of lost the actual mission of what we're supposed to be doing. It's destroyed the credibility of the church. It's destroyed it and it's just made it to where we've been weak and ineffective. And if we were united, just here in Fairfield, if we were united, we'd be unstoppable. Just as a group, if we were united, could you imagine the 10,000 of us that got together? We could go out and we could be unstoppable. Could you imagine 10,000 people all doing God's work in the city of Fairfield, in the city of Sassoon? It would be amazing on what could be done. The church would be unstoppable. The movement would be unstoppable. And yet we're afraid because, oh, that person might go to that other church. Well, that's good because they're probably being fed there. We just have to get out of this mindset. I'm not the only pastor in town. I just happen to be the one at this church. We must unite. And if you're following along, we desperately need each other. We desperately need each other. Just as our bodies have many parts, each of us has a special function, and so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. It's Romans 12:5. We cannot significantly impact the world alone. We cannot do it. We can't. It takes a group of us. It takes a bunch of us. It takes us all coming out. We are the hand and the feet. We are, and see, the thing is that all of us try to be the brain. Each one of us churches try and be the brain. We are the hands and feet. God's already given us the mission. He said, I want you to go out and do this. And see, we all going to try and rethink this. They go, hey, wait a minute. I got a better way of doing it than your way, God. And that's where we've gotten. Instead of going, I'm going to do it this way. Now, I'll just give you an instance. If we're all the hands and feet, all these different churches, and we're all the hands and feet, anybody in here, you ever had, I know there's somebody in here who's had a major accident who's lost a limb. And if you ever ask them, and you talk to him, and you'll ever ask him, do you ever think that it's still there? He'll say, yeah. He gets that ghost. It's there. But he knows it's not. And see, the thing is that, and I've never asked him, but I bet it's happened, is that maybe one time he's thought that it was still there, and maybe he's like, I got to get up, and then realized it wasn't. And see, the thing is that when we count on one another, when something happens, then we end up falling, or end up having, and I will tell you, if you ever speak to anybody who's ever lost a limb, other than Sean, I'll put it out there, you're talking about him enough. If you ever talk to anybody other than Sean, I've talked to people who've lost a pinky, And they've never really been able to regain the function of their hand because they're missing that one part of it. And they're missing that. And so as a community of churches, we continue to divide one another. And we're going, why is it that we're not being able to do whatever he's asked us to do? It's like we've disabled ourselves by being divided. We've made it to where we're not able to do what God has asked us to do. And we end up becoming hobbled, for example, because we're going, why is it that we're not doing this in this community? Why is it that we're not doing this? Why is it that this isn't happening? Well, it's because we're not talking. We're not united. But the thing is that sometimes it starts in here. See, we have when you look at this and you think about in the church here, see, I can't do all of it, right? Yeah, I've tried. I really have. Like even today, if you saw, I kind of walked around the parking lot and stuff. And I just said, well, if it's going to burn down, let this baby burn. I just started walking, and I really rely on people. And I'm just going, you know what? That's what it has to be. I have to allow the staff that's here to do their jobs. And see, the reality is that you probably saw a whole lot friendlier Mike today. When you walked in, you're like, man, he was in a good mood. What happened there? Because I wasn't stressed. I allowed everybody else to do their thing. But see, here's the thing is that I relied on the tech team to do their job. I relied on the worship team to do their job. I relied on all those things to happen. It's just like with our bodies. We rely on our hands to feed us. We rely on our feet to help us walk. We rely on our heart to pump the blood. We don't even think about it. It just happens. Those are just things that happen. Well, in churches, we've lost that. It used to be years ago, certain churches, you would know that you would rely on them to do the Thanksgiving box distribution, or you would rely on them to help with the Christmas thing, or you would rely on them to do this, or you would rely on these churches to do that. And the thing is, we've become so divided that stopped happening. That it's now all these churches trying to carry this weight, this whole big weight, and going, okay, well, we got to carry God's message to everybody out there. And it's become this whole big baggage that it's become hard and hard to carry. It's like, okay, I got the coffee cup, I got my cell phone, and we'll just say, I got the poor, I got the needy, I got the widow, I got the orphan. Oh, wait a minute, what about the people that are supposed to be in service? I just throw that on my back. What about the people that are supposed to be here for food distribution? Or what about this, or what about that? And the thing is that at some point, what happens is it just drops. We start losing stuff. I got insurance on it, guys, don't worry. I know, I heard it. Oh! It's just a phone, by the way. It's not the end of the world. And see, the thing is we've gotten to this point where it will at some point all just collapse. And it'll just all fall apart. And you see that happening in our culture right now. Start looking at what's happening as our culture is collapsing because we've gotten so picked up and we've gotten so oh, it's him, it's going to be him, or it's her, or it's going to be this. And now there's like this, oh, we got to do a recount. Okay. The reality is, it doesn't matter who really wins. Jesus is still in charge, and that's who we're supposed to be living for. Does it really matter? Why does it change so much? And you go, all these policies are going to change. No, you do know that Hillary and Trump are friends, right? You guys know that, right? They're buddies. They've been buddies for years, fundraised for one another. Things ain't going to change that much. And you remember 8 years ago when Obama was elected, right? Oh, my God, the end is coming. Still here, right? Aren't we? Did the end happen for anybody that I didn't know about? Did the world come to an end and we're just happen to be living in this abyss that we don't know about? No, it's still going. And see, that's the thing is that if we were going out it and we were supposed to be doing what God has asked us to do, you'd be amazed on how much how much things would change. If we were doing everything that they're doing over this political agenda, if we were doing that for pushing for Christ, things would change so dramatically here. Now, we're all part of the body, and each one of you are part of the body. And your part is important. Now, I'll tell you this. It's not the same, but your part is important. And the reason why I'll tell you that it's important. So, for example, this morning, I didn't make the coffee. Okay, I just didn't do it. Susan made the coffee this morning. When you walked in, there was 4 pots of coffee over there, and if it wasn't made, you would have been pissed. You would have walked up and you're like, Mike, where's the coffee at? Her job is important, right? Right? So when you walked in this morning, the bulletins were done. I didn't print the bulletins. Somebody else printed the bulletins. But if it wasn't done, you'd be like, where's my bulletin, Mike? I don't know. I didn't do that. You know, or all these things. If you walked in and there was no worship set, you'd be like, Mike, what's up with the worship team? I don't know, because you really don't want me singing. None of you will be back. That's what it would be. Be me up here clanging. That's how I'd sing. And see, that's the thing, is that we would get together and see that it takes all of us to make it happen. It takes each one of us. But that doesn't mean that there's not a part for you. See, the thing is, we walk in and so often we go, well, I got my coffee. I got my bulletin. Now I got to go find my chair. That's my job. And see, that's not your job. So that's just, so, and I love the analogy that was given to us a couple years ago when Mike Cheshire was here, and he came in and he goes, this here is the huddle. Okay? You know, we look at this as football season, and this right now is the huddle. And see, all of us, we've come together, and I happen to be the quarterback of this team today. Okay? I happen to be the guy who's calling the play. Not the offensive coordinator. He's upstairs. I just happen to be the guy going, this is the way that we're going to go. And I try not to call any audibles. And audibles are when we change the play at the last moment at the line of scrimmage. But I do sometimes. I try not to, but I do. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, is that all of us together, our job right now is to get to play and go out. And be unified and go reach this community and go do something. And see, the thing is, we get in here and we sit down, and then we walk out, and we don't walk out with the mission. And we kind of lose it. And we kind of forget that we're part of the hands and feet. And that each body part's important. And that everything that we do, and it's not the same, that each one of us are called to do something. And then we get to this mindset and go, oh, Mike, you know, you're trying to get us to be unified, but that means that I'm going to be uniform, and I can't be unique, and I can't be weird in my little weird way. And, you know, see, the thing is, we can have strength in our diversity. We have strength in what we do different. You know, see, the thing is, if you look at it in a church thing, you have the Methodist church and you have the charismatic church. And there's strength in each one of them all the way from the beginning to the end. You know, you have them when you walk in and you go, man, you're lost in either one sometimes. You go, what just happened? I've asked that question. My wife and I were at church one time, and she goes, what is going on? And I go, just hold on, baby. It'll be done soon. It's just for an hour. You know, and that's how it is sometimes. You know, it just depends on when you walk, but there's power in so many of them. We can't, you know, see, the thing is, you know, in our country, we've gotten to this point where we want to be Republican first or we want to be Democratic first. And see, in churches, we tend to go, well, we have to be Baptist first, or we have to be Methodist first, or we have to be Lutherans, or we have to be Charismatics, or we have to be Pentecostal. We have to be whatever it is. We can't be Republican Christians. We can't be Democrat Christians. We have to be Christians and followers of Christ. That's what we have to be. That's what we are first. We are followers of Christ. All those other things that happen in our beliefs come afterwards. We are Jesus followers first. Our style of doing church is not God's favorite. I'll tell you that right now. It's just not. And if you're a critic, yours isn't either. It's as simple as that. Our style of worships, you know, we don't do a lot of hymns. We do mostly contemporary, but that's okay. We're still praising and still singing out glory to God. It's what's in our hearts. You know, I might not be up here screaming and yelling and singing. Well, I scream and yell up here sometimes, but I may not be up here singing. But I tell you is that when I do sing, I do it in just pure passion, and tears are pouring down my face, and I tell you is that you know, and I've done it with hymns and I've done it with contemporary, and it just really matters where your heart is at and which direction you're going. So the thing is that Jesus gave us a great commission. Anybody know what the Great Commission is? Jesus said, go all ends of the earth. He said, go to all ends of the earth and reach people for me. That's what he said. So go to all ends of the earth. Where did he say to go? To all ends. You know, and he said, what did he say? He said, go share the gospel. Where? Everywhere. What? The gospel. See, here's the thing. There was not how. He didn't go out and say, now here's how I want you to do it. He didn't give detailed instructions. He said, here's what I want you to do, is go out and do it. He didn't say, this is exactly what we're going to do. He said, we understand that there's one message and there's many methods to do it. And as unity, as a group of believers, we have to understand that we know that this church can't reach everybody. We're not the perfect church for everybody. We need others and they need us, as long as we're pursuing the same message and going in the same direction. See, the other thing that we need to start doing is we need to start erring on the side of being for, not against. If I'm going to make a mistake about other Christians, I would love to be in believing the best in them and not assuming the worst. You know, a lot of times we assume the worst about people. We see them. Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example, because I love my neighbors dearly. And if you were watching on Facebook about a year ago, or maybe less than that, I don't know. We have a pit bull that kind of adopted us, and she's mean for some reason. She's very loving, but she's very protective. And our pit bull was in our backyard, and their cat crossed into our backyard. It didn't work out well for the cat. The problem is that the neighbor, instead of actually talking to us about it, put it on Facebook, and then actually brought our church into it and said, you must be a horrible pastor because your dog kills animals. So wow. So man, that's rough. And we were on a plane, by the way, when this happened. So we had just landed. And so that's what the notification that came across my phone, you know, bing, you have a new notification. You're a horrible pastor. Your animal kills dogs. And see, the thing was, and Melissa saw it, and Melissa goes, oh my God! You know, we're in row 13 of a plane, and she's like, and for her, and so she goes, we got to confront her, we got to do something. I said, no, we don't. So people are always going to throw stones, and Melissa still got to, I said, you know, just send a message, don't respond, just, you know, and I guess within a few minutes or something like that, it was deleted. I don't know, whatever it took. So the thing is how do we respond to things? And do we judge the worst of people before we ever really get to know them? Do we ever really just kind of judge them and look at them and go, you're a horrible person? Without, you know, instead of going, man, they are just awesome, and then let them prove to be a horrible person. Instead, you want everybody to prove themselves to be great. You know, you want people to go, man, I have to be perfect before you ever think that I'm even worthy of enough of anything. Instead of going, man, that's just a great person. We always make people earn it. You know, it's kind of how our judicial system has changed in this country. It's, you know, it used to be innocent until proven guilty. Well, now you're guilty until proven innocent. And, you know, and we need to start changing that. We need to start erring on the side of being for somebody rather than being against them. We shouldn't continue to put them down or destroy them. You know, build your ministry on what you're for, not what you're against. Build your ministry on these are the things that we believe. We're not like other churches. I'm not boring. I'm just not. I mean, maybe today's boring. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeker sensitive. I don't know. Some preachers won't tell you that. Some people won't come out and go, I'm not boring. I'll say things that are kind of obnoxious sometimes. I'll say things that you'd be like, man, what is he talking about? But the reality is, I try and keep your attention the whole time. I just do. If you think church is boring and outdated, then you're probably in the right place, because it won't be for long here. You know, it just isn't. You know, I hear people with the argument online. I get it all the time. You know, and some of you guys even have that argument here. You know, Mike, why do you put your service online? You know, our church attendance is lower because people are watching at home. That's good. Watch it where you're comfortable at. For those of you that are watching your pajamas, I'm there, right there with you. I wish I could be. I'm serious. Be comfortable. You should be able to walk into church and just be comfortable sometimes. And sometimes that's what it is. Maybe, you know, you guys, there are people around there that they just don't get along with people. They just don't. People freak them out. Being in large groups freaks people out. And if they can get church by watching at home, it's amazing. 900 people watched service last week. Yeah. Would some of them come here? Maybe. But 900 people that didn't come here watched service and were reached for the message. That's impressive. And that makes it all worth it. Now, I will tell you, those that are watching online, start giving. It's a ministry that has to pay for itself. And it's just how it gets to that mindset, and we just have to get to this point. You can watch at home in pajamas, but don't let the tithe envelope go by without clicking that give button on top. No, I'm kidding. You don't fight back, Mike. I do fight back. I just do it in my dreams, that's all. Someone leaves, they go to another place, they go to these different places, and that's okay. Guys, we're just doing what we're supposed to do. We know that we're not going to be the church that reaches everybody. One of the things, D.L. Moody comes out and says, you may find hundreds of fault finders among professed Christians, but all their criticism will not lead to one solitary soul to Christ. Just won't bring one person. You can criticize and you can tear down. That's not bringing anybody to Christ. And all through this and everything that we have going on, if we're not unified and bringing people to Christ, then it doesn't matter what's happening everywhere else. We're actually keeping people in bondage. In John 13, verses 34 through 35, it says, I give you a new command, love one another, as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. So isn't that perfect theology right there? Isn't that the theology that we're looking for when you walk into churches? That's the perfect theology. Love one another. It's not the style of worship, but even that's a great worship style. What's your worship style? We love. What's your theology? We love. What are your beliefs? We love. Isn't that the answer for things? Right? Isn't that what it is? What is it that you believe here? I don't know. We love. My pastor tells me we just love everything. Whatever. Well, everything? Yeah, why not? We just love it. That's your easy answer. What does your church believe? We love everything. Political posts on Facebook? Love it. No. No, but the reality is, guys, when you start looking at what we're supposed to be doing, we love people. Doesn't mean we always love their actions. Doesn't mean we always love what they do sometimes, but we love them. We help them. We help them grow. We try and get them from where they're at to become fully devoted followers of Jesus. That's the goal and the mission of this church. So if you're asked, what is the mission of your church? The mission of the Edge is to take people from exactly where they're at, wherever that is. So for some of you guys, it's in a deep, dark spot. And from others, you're in this place where you're almost right there. But we want to take people and we want to grow them into fully devoted followers of Christ, to where they can actually use their gifts to reach others and to go help and equip others to do the same thing. That's what we want to do. That's the mission of this church. And we know that we do it a little differently because we reach people a little further away from God sometimes. But we need the people that are closer to help guide and reach and teach and guide people in. I just look back at it and I just go, and I look at what Jesus told us so often, and I might be a little sidetracked here. Jesus didn't tell us to be right. Right? Jesus didn't come out and say, be right in everything you do. He just said, be loving. We can't all be right. But we can all be one. We can all go out and be one together and do this what we're supposed to do. So if you read in Acts, and this might get your attention a little bit, it says, all the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions were their own, but they shared everything. They shared everything they had. And we'll go back to this a second. And God's grace was so powerful at work in them that there was no needy person among them. Now, let me go back to this a little bit. And so it says, all the believers were of one heart and mind, and no one claimed that any of their possessions was of their own, but they had shared everything they had. Now, I want you to think of currency a little differently than the way we do now. Okay, and the reason why I want you to think of this a little differently is because currency back then, and so for those that are watching offline, I'm going to walk off camera a couple times. And so currency back then was a little different because it wasn't always just gold and silver. Okay, currency wasn't always just here's my money. And so we've gotten to this universal currency of greenbacks and dollars and silver and gold. But back then, currency was a little differently. Sometimes currency was a matter of corn, or currency was potatoes, or currency was I make silverish things, or I make this, or I make the bowl, or I make these different things. And see, the thing was that people realized that one another had needs. And so, for instance, Susan had the coffee. And everybody needed coffee in the morning. But Susan needed to eat throughout the day. Right? So Susan goes, no, I don't need to eat. I'm good. But the reality is that Susan, so the thing was that Susan never had to walk around and go, I'm hungry. I've got coffee. Let's trade. The reality was that it was already done. She already had those things. It was the people already understood that she had that need. She had this thing that she provided, but she had this need. And so people understood. They just took care of her. She didn't have to walk around and go, I'm in need. I'm hungry. Please help. Which is what we do to other people, right? They have to ask us for help. But we know that they need help, but they have to ask us all the time. So currency was a little different back then. And people provided for one another, and they gave to one another. And nobody had a need because they lived in community. So, kind of give you a perfect example is that anybody here for Thanksgiving? Anybody show up for Thanksgiving with us? Anybody leave here hungry? See how that need went away? That's exactly how it was. To a T. People brought what they had and they came together. And they did life together. There was unity. They communicated. What are you bringing? I got this. I'll bring this. There was unity. They had community. Kind of weird how those two words kind of go together, huh? Unity in the community, unity. Wow. That's how it was. See, the thing is that we've gotten so sidetracked, and we go on with our wallets and we go, I have to have this or I have to have that we've forgotten to have community. And that we've forgotten to actually talk to one another. And actually it's become all about the haves and the wants. And so when you look back then, nobody had a need. And see, God's grace and power was so at work in them because they were already so willing to give. They had already been sharing all the time. So when somebody had a need, it wasn't hard to give to that need. It was easy. Here you go. Let me take care of that. It wasn't about, I got to go get more stuff. They just considered their possessions to be part of the community. That's what it was back then. And see, the thing is that we've kind of lost that. And see, the thing, we've gotten scared here too. Because what we think of is that we think all of a sudden Mike's going to go sign your deeds over to the church so we can have these communities. And that's not what we're talking about. But that's the mindset that we have. We've got this mindset that's what it means to have community. Oh, well, they gave up all their possessions. No. They were just willing to share with one another, and they were willing to give, and they were willing to go without in order for others to have. They had love for one another, and they had community. They cared. So that's the thing, is they cared for one another, and they loved. Yeah, I don't know. I walk into the grocery store. Anybody ever shop at Walmart? Anybody in here? I know you don't have to admit to it, but I know. Right? It's kind of like the thing that you don't want to do, but you have to do. And so I get to the cashier line, and I really, 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 for the most part, I try and be as loving and grace-filled as I can with that person that's ringing me out. Sometimes I go, because I used to run a Walmart for a while, and Melissa, she goes, what are they doing wrong? I go, everything. But other times I get to the line and I try and strike a conversation with the cashier or whoever's there, and I really try and have one of these, this loving, just really. And guys, if you don't know, is that Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, generally I have an Ed shirt on, almost always. I have enough of them. Every time we do a new Ed shirt, I usually get one, and so so everywhere I go, I have one on. And I get to one time, and I was just having this conversation with this cashier one time, and she goes, she'd asked me about the shirt. She goes, "Oh, that's a cool logo," and and we're just having a conversation. She goes, "I hate pastors," and I go, "That's awesome. Me too, I guess." and see, the thing is that even after that, though, she really just gave exceptional customer service. She was really good. She just was. And when somebody's usually really good, I usually will give praise for that. I just do. And I just tell her, and I go, man, it's just amazing. You just did great. I said, I'm really thankful for that. I said, because a lot of times people hate their jobs here. And she asked me, she's like, what do you do? I said, I pastor church. And yeah. In fact, I pastor the one that I'm wearing right now. And she cracked up a little bit. And she goes, I can't believe that you still said that you thought my service was great. I said, you know what? I said, I get that you don't really like pastors. A lot of people don't. I said, and I said, the reality is that you may not like us, but we still love you. We're a little lost sometimes, but we still love each and every person that we come in contact with. We just we get a little divided. We get a little angry. Like I'm one of those people at Walmart. Have you seen me sometimes? Like if I've been waiting in line for a long time, you can almost see the steam coming off me. Because I just sit there and I just go, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And I'm one of those people, I'm like, man, you broke your payment up into 15 different methods. What's going on? I just get really angry. And the thing is that I'm starting to really realize, and I'm not perfect at this, I'm just not, but I'm really starting to realize is that God has me waiting there sometimes. He just does. Maybe it's a conversation that I'm supposed to have with Melissa, or maybe it's a conversation I'm supposed to have with the cashier, maybe the person in front of me. And those aren't opportunities I've taken every time. You know, have we really loved? Have we ever been able to give that opportunity? By the way, that person that I ran into the Walmart and asked about her customer service, I ran into the gym, I don't know, maybe 2 months back or something like that when I was going. And she said, I started attending church. No, she's not coming here, but she's attending church. Which is okay. It's because that's exactly what we're supposed to do. And I asked her, I said, where are you going? She says, oh, it's not your church. I said, well, I know that because I know you. So that's okay, though. And so she goes, I'm going to Liberty, right across the street from my work. I said, that's awesome. That's great. Glad that you're plugged in and you're connected. She says, I don't make it every week. I said, I'm not here to judge you. I'm glad you walked in the door. That's all. See, the thing is that we're called to grow God's kingdom, not just the edge. And how we interact with people and what we say and what we do, it all affects it. Every bit of it. You know, I run into people all the time. They go, Pastor Mike, and I go, who are you? But it happens, and it's about growing it. All right, so let's just finish this up. Am I missing anything? You guys got all the blanks filled, right? You know, everything's we've gone through all the scripture. Oh, I just closed it. That's awesome. We love like Jesus loved. Verse 34, I give you a new command. Love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you that you are my disciples if you love one another. So, let's have this little mindset change here today, okay? As I'm kind of giving you this idea that people cared for one another, people put away their differences, people put away their politics, people put away their domination, they put away whatever it was, and they got back to this, let's love one another, right? Let's love. That's what we're called to do. So here's my question for each one of you. Just this past week, how well have you loved one another? Now, people in your household, that might be a little different, right? They're a little easier to love. For most of you. All right, let me change that. For some of you, they're a little easier to love for some of you. But, so anybody go shopping on Black Friday? No. Anybody go shopping on Thanksgiving? Anyway. Did you throw any elbows those days? Did you try and take something out of somebody else's cart? You were walking along, they got the TV you wanted, and you were like, woohoo, this is my cart. Did you help them get their stuff? Did you help them get into, and did you help them check out? Did you help them pack the stuff in the car without like drooling over it? Like, oh, I really wish I would have got that for $10. Right? How well do we love one another? On Thanksgiving, how well did you love your family? Were you thankful that each one of them were there? Or were you like, man, I can't wait for the in-laws to leave? By the way, my in-laws are in here. I love them, so they can stay all the time. But see, here's the thing is that, I don't know what he just said, but it was okay. It's good. But here's the thing is that's the mindset that we have to get to, is that we have to get to this mindset where we're loving and we're actually caring and loving and helping one another grow. So often we get kind of distracted from that. It's about us. It's about what we have. And it's the same thing about with this Christmas thing. I will tell you is that we have some kids here that are going to need some help with cribs that come to this church. You don't even know it. You don't think about it because people do a pretty good job of hiding it. That's what they do. That's why we do Christmas like this. You know, there's going to be some people here that you're going to look around and you go, man, what happened? Or what's going on here? Or what's going on with these people? Or guys, just love them. Help them grow. Help them get from there, where they are to becoming fully devoted followers of Christ. That's what our job is. That's all we have to do. Let's leave all the judgment behind. Let's leave the denomination behind. And let's help grow God's kingdom. That's what we do. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for unity. And thank you so much for the unity that you showed us so well in Acts, in the Acts church that created this community, and that nobody had a need, and they loved one another, and they helped one another grow, and that they always pursued you. They may have had differences, and they may have had these arguments, and they may have been a little lost sometimes, but you know, God, they always continued to pursue you, and they directed people to you. So, Father, we ask that you help realign our hearts with yours, that you bring us back to you, that you help us to where we have this focus, that we realize that we're the hands and the feet, that we go out and we do the work to help bring people into your community, into your fold, into your grace, into your kingdom. We train them, we lift them up, we grow them, and then we send them out to do the same thing, to reach all ends of this earth with the gospel. And so, Father, we ask that we were realigned into that heart to where we see that we continue to grow and love one another, no matter what's going on, no matter how long we've been in line at the Walmart or how long we've been waiting in line for a TV that we didn't get, that we just continue to love the people in front of us, the people around us, and that we continue to reach out as Jesus did to grow your kingdom. And Father, no matter who's in charge of this country, that you are in charge of this world. That we have this heart to follow you. That our country becomes realigned with you to where we know you. And our country loves. And we're known as we're known as the United States, not the divided states sometimes. Father, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing right now. And the hearts you're changing. And the people that have been willing to just hear this cry for unity. It's in your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.